This is my friend Kyle. He's the most talented photographer I know. I spent the day with him documenting his creative process as well as interviewing him on my podcast to figure out how to be creative. But before we answer that, I think it's important to address why creativity matters. I've been making videos since I was 10 years old, and there's been a lot of cringy moments. Despite that, I still continue to make videos because I think human creativity is the most important tool for humanity. Ever since I was a kid, I watched my dad work his blue-collar job while simultaneously pursuing music on his days off. My dictator of a grandfather would always ridicule his lifestyle and call him a failure. The problem is that my grandfather grew up in the 50s. They just had a different mindset back then. Back then, it was okay to beat your wife and put your cigarette out on little Johnny, where blue-collar work was looked at with a source of pride rather than somewhere you'd end up if you didn't graduate high school. Oh, you're depressed? Let's lobotomize you instead of dealing with actual human emotion. I think the mindset my grandparents' generation missed, my parents' generation are understanding, and our generation has fully actualized is the fact that art is what makes life worth living. I don't know if it's my overactive brain or if everybody thinks this to some degree, but I'm constantly contemplating everything. I'm trying to find meaning in life. Call me what you want. Call me the pretentious asshole at parties who thinks he's a modern day philosopher. Call me the deep Tumblr girl in 2014 meme. Call me someone, just please call me so we can have a deep conversation at 3 a.m. while looking at the stars. That was legit one of my moves back in the day. I'd be like,
every time I look at the stars, I think of you, baby. Can we have sex now?
Art, in my eyes, is the combat to the absurdity or the existential nihilism that this life has. Imagine how boring life would be without any art. We'd all be robots fulfilling tasks to collect a digit on a screen to buy useless shit we don't need to distract us from the realities of life. Now that we got art, we have something better to distract us. I'm kidding, art is not a distraction, but the lines can get blurred when you're on that 3-hour TikTok binge watching someone do this. Good art is not the distraction of life, but it's the source of understanding what life is. The point of art is to tell a story, and stories is how we create a context to see the world. Good stories tell hard truths. These hard truths are transferable in any art endeavor.
Transferable skills in any creative endeavor that you want to do. You know, I kind of see photography in different styles now.
Yeah.
Photography or just visuals in general is in different styles, right? Mm-hmm. So like in comparison to dance, I'll see dance in, you know, a house setting, a hip hop setting, the styles that I know as well as the names, and like using that to create something new with the knowledge that I already have. And then if I switch that stuff over to, you know, photography or anything visual, what I can do, or what I'm going to try to do now, is go back to like, you know, image making, but not solely image making with a lens-based like camera. Yeah. So image making with 3D work, image making with collage, mixed media, stop motion work, and kind of like pushing it in that sense.
The only way to get hard truths is to go through hard times. And the only way to go through hard times is to go through experience. Everything that has brought you up until this moment of your life has been a sequence of experiences you've had and choices you've made. Life is like a big game of chess. Once you make a move, you can't go back. All you can do is look at the chessboard and make a better move next time. As the king of your chessboard, or how shorties like to say it, the main character in your movie, you make one move at a time, and consistent steps over a long period of time results in progress. Sometimes you're the horse piece and you gotta take an L. I've taken many L's in my lifetime. I've lost all the money I've ever made 3 times in my life. I've lost friendships because of my stubborn ego and my anger problems. I once dropped my crush at her boyfriend's house playing the nice guy role. I've also taken a lot of W's in my life. I've took the leap to move across the country to isolate myself and focus on content creation so I can avoid the rat race. I'm carving my own path. Most people take the path that society hands them. I've realized the importance of fostering deep connections and nurturing the ones that matter. I've cut out shorties in my life because now I actually have a level of self-respect. You gotta stop simping and start pimping, kings. The highs, the lows, the full spectrum of human experience. This is the next part of creating good art. Most people don't think about art on a day-to-day basis until they experience a really traumatic or ecstatic event. Their father dying, they lose a child, somebody breaks their heart. They're desperate to make sense of this life. Same thing goes for the reverse. They meet someone and they can't even put into words how this person makes them feel. Think of all the countless movies and music that portray a specific emotion that you can't convey yourself. Art gives us permission to feel these emotions, but most importantly, it lets us understand these emotions. It gives us a glimpse of how we can either deal with it or how we can fully experience it. So if you want to tell good stories, fully experience what it means to be alive. Experience both sides, the highs and the lows, because once you experience the darkness, the light becomes even brighter. You can change your mindset when you're up at 3 a.m. waking up in cold sweats thinking, God damn it, nothing matters. To, wait, nothing matters. When you are experiencing life, you're constantly asking yourself, why? Why did this happen to me? Why am I the way I am? Why can't I just be a normal functioning human being and stop overthinking stuff? Similarly to art, you are constantly asking why.
The why photography precedes the how in entirety. Because I'd rather focus on why that image was made, why that visual was made, why that this small scene is the way it is, and then kind of figure out how to do it. And then execute in that way. Asking the question why to treatments, to execution, to the finished product. And once I'm at the finished product, do I say, am I done with this? What else can I add on? I have the finished file there. Let it sit for like a year, because I did that in 2021.
Really?
And I was like, wow, what else can I do? And then I printed out the shots, messed around with it, cut them up, created something different from the original. And then I think from there, I feel like that's a finished product.
When you gain a new experience, you gain a hard truth. When you gain a hard truth, you convey it through emotion. This is the last process of creating art, conveying your emotions through an artistic medium. The art that I chose specifically is filmmaking and comedy. I did stand up in the summer, but I stopped because I was just talking about useless information. Like, I had a bit about conspiracy theorists because I went Bigfoot hunting with some Bigfoot enthusiasts. And yeah, it was funny because I was going on a wacky adventure in my life, but it wasn't real. The situation was actually real. Like, we set up booby traps and I went camping with an incel and a far-right conservative. Bigfoot obviously wasn't real. But what I'm talking about, the actual content that was coming out of my mouth, it didn't matter so much to me. Even if you go down my channel, I emulated certain niches that were popular at the time versus talking about something that was real. I went through a Casey Neistat phase where I was vlogging my adventures in Toronto. What nobody realized is that Casey Neistat was a somebody living in the greatest city of all time, while I was a nobody living in Ontario, Canada. I was going through a David Dobrik phase where I was vlogging spectacular moments. What nobody realized about David Dobrik is that he had a friend group filled with vloggers and he was also massively wealthy, while I had a friend group of university students while I was massively poor. I started finding my voice around 1 to 2 years ago, but even then I was making videos that were super nihilistic and depressing. It looked like I was about to cry every time I was on camera. Now I feel like I have a good balance. I'm still realizing the absurdity of it all, but I'm looking at it with an optimistic lens. I've accepted the fruitlessness of my task of finding meaning, and I'm continuing to live in spite of it with my head held high. The point is now I'm utilizing art and talking about real shit. How to find your purpose. What is the point of a doomed romance? People come in your life in seasons. I'm using humor and filmmaking to talk about hard truths of life, conveying my own personal emotions so I can remind whoever else is going through it that it's okay to feel these emotions. There's hope on the other side. The best way to convey emotion is to be authentic. All of the L's and W's I've taken in my life, I walk with pride. My shame makes me shameless. Allow yourself to be fully vulnerable with your art. That's how you be creative.
We can feel a state of immense happiness, immense joy, immense positive feelings, but we can also inversely experience sadness, despair, negative feelings. And I think the up and down of that is the meaning of life.
If life is a sequence of actions that brought you up until this moment, I implore you to create a life worth living. This is not just by consuming good art, but this is also conveying your own personal emotions, your own personal experiences, and letting it out in the world. Fully experience what this life has to offer so you can pass your wisdom on to someone else down the line. Maybe one day you'll have the privilege of looking back at your art and looking at it with a sense of awe and cringe. Stay on Average Fools.
Yeah!
I feel like a lot. There's everybody's creative in a sense.
You think so?
It's just, yeah.
Even like the blue collar workers.
100% blue collar workers are so creative.
What makes them creative?
Fuck, I don't know. But like everyone has a sense of creativity in them. It's just they just gotta like
Express
get
it.
it out, express it, and get it out.